Alright, welcome to Not Suitable for Adults. We're still doing it. We're still doing the podcast.
Yeah, we're still here. Sorry.
Well, I didn't mean it apologetically.
Sorry.
Here we are. You chose to be here, and man, what can we say except we're sorry?
It's not our fault.
I'm Rich.
Oh, I'm Natalie.
This is we're doing the if you haven't done this before, it's the podcast where we watch the shows and we tell you if we like them, but the shows aren't for us; they're for the kids. Mm-hmm. And some of them are movies. We say shows a lot, I realize, but a lot of what we do is movies.
My mom calls movies shows.
Yeah.
So we'll just do a Maggie.
It's a picture show.
We'll just do a Maggie. Well, she's not that old where she calls it a picture show, but she doesn't call it like watching a movie. She calls it like we watched a show. And to me, that means a TV show.
Yeah.
But then she will start describing a movie. She has always called a movie a show. I've always thought it was kind of cute and funny.
Well, this week I'm actually going to be talking about a show.
I'm actually going to be talking about a Maggie movie.
A picture show.
A picture show.
I'm going to go first. The show I'm going to talk about has been recommended on Netflix for a while now. Oh, actually, before I do that, I wanted to say this week I did an interview on I think a relatively new show. I'm not sure how long they've been around now, but it's called Interview with a Podcast. And it's on a network called the Podcast Clubhouse or Pod Clubhouse Podcast Network. That's what it is. The show's called Interview with a Podcast. I was on there with Caroline and Mike, and it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, sorry I didn't get to make it to that one, you guys. It was, I have a 4-year-old.
Well, and it was Halloween weekend.
Some days are easier than others.
We planned to both be on the show, and then there was an opportunity to do a safe neighborhood trunk or treat on a Friday night with Cora, and the times got kind of weird, so we made a call, and it was probably the right one at the time, but we missed you.
Oh, me, yes.
Yeah. And you, listener.
I mean, yes, I was, well, they don't have to miss you. They can go listen.
Oh, that's true. I don't know when it's going to be out. It's not out yet, but we will definitely keep you in the loop. But if you're not familiar with the Pod Clubhouse Network or the show Interview with a Podcast, go check them out because they're nice folks and we had a good time.
It was just about us and what we do, and
yeah, they actually described it as a 30 to 40 minute commercial for us.
Oh, very cool.
So we talked a little bit about where our show came from, and we chatted about kids shows, and it was fun. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah,
I didn't get to be a part, but
I'm actually hoping we can partner up with them again in the future because they were a true blast to work with. Mm-hmm. All right, now I'm gonna do a show, Nanny Nanny Boo Boo.
Nanny Nanny Boo Boo. So you said this has been recommended on Netflix. Do you mean Netflix has recommended it or somebody recommended it to you?
I mean Netflix has been recommending it.
Okay.
And I realized why when I did a tiny amount of, only just the minimal amount of Googling and searching that I could do on the show. Mm-hmm. The show's called Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts.
Kipo.
It is on Netflix. It is produced by DreamWorks Animation Television.
Okay.
So it's going to be pretty good. Mm-hmm. And I've watched like 4 or 5 episodes of it. And there's 3 seasons. They've all come out this year.
Okay.
They put out 3 10-episode seasons this year, which is pretty impressive. I mean, I guess maybe they had stuff kind of in the can and they're like, you know what, 2020.
Had it in the can?
Yeah.
Is that an expression?
Yeah, like they filmed it, even though it's animation. It's yeah, like when you finish like filming a movie, then it's in the can. You're done with
like in the film can.
You're done with it. You've got it.
In the can.
In the film canister, in like a film canister, in a big can that you keep the film in.
Is that a real expression?
Yes. Okay. Get in the comments, people. How much do you think... here's another thing.
I'll kick you in the can.
How much do you think we can continue to get away with occasionally stealing other shows' little catchphrases like "get in the comments."
Get in the comments is not somebody's trademark.
But you and I
say words.
But you and I know that when we say "get in the comments," we're quoting.
We're
a person.
referring to something else.
Yeah. Maybe they don't know.
Of course they don't know. They're famous.
Brennan's listening to our show, and he's like, "That's what I do."
No, he's not.
Okay, the show's called Kipo, the Age of Wonderbeasts, and it's kind of a weird show. It starts off the first 3 minutes of the movie of the show is it sort of slowly fades in on this like city with like skyscrapers and all this, and then like snap, all of a sudden we're in like post-apocalyptic and the city's overrun by trees and vines and stuff. And all of a sudden there's like a rumbling, and all this sort of water rushes through a big culvert in the middle of the city and blows out, and then this rock comes out, and right before the rocks come down, we see this teenage girl sort of like out of through the water, like she got flushed out of the city. Yeah. And this is Kipo.
Okay.
So the general story is,
how do you spell her name?
Kipo.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
And so we learn quickly that the general story is something happened. I don't know what it is yet, but something happened that made most of humanity decide to retreat to underground cities, and they've sort of burrowed underground.
Okay, so it's the Matrix.
Kinda, but there's no
you said
machine.
You said she got flushed.
Yeah.
And now it's the Matrix.
I guess I hadn't considered how like the Matrix the very beginning of the movie is. But it's not the Matrix because there's no machine overlords. Instead there's quote Wonder Beasts. And so it seems like what happened is something happened that caused, now there's like these gigantic mutant versions of the animals that we know and love all over the surface. Mm-hmm. And most of the people retreated underground. We learn pretty quickly, not all of them did, because we meet a couple of people on the surface that are like people who have figured out a way to scratch out an existence in this sort of post-apocalyptic natural renaissance.
Are these animals all mean?
No, some of them are very nice. In fact, the first one that we meet is a little four-eyed blue pig who Kipo names Mandu. Mm-hmm. And he's like, he's one of the characters.
So then why are people retreating underground if not all of the animals are bad?
Well, some of them are very bad.
Some animals are bad now. Is it because they're gigantic or something?
Yeah, so like for instance, one of the animals we meet in like episode 2 or 3 is what's called a mega bunny. And the mega bunny, well, the way we meet the mega bunny is Kipo is like walking through like a mall or something, and she comes out and she's met one of the surface dwellers. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, look at the cute bunnies." And she runs out, and there's like these giant, like slightly taller than her, cute little bunnies. And she's snuggling with them, and they're very nice. And then the other character, whose name is, it's a younger girl named Wolf, who like is super tough, and she knows the streets. And she's kind of helping Kipo get back home. She's like, you touched the bunnies, we have to run. And it turns out that those are the babies. Mm. The mama is like the size of a building. She's like 5 stories tall. Mm-hmm. And she can tell if you've touched her children, and she will chase you down until one of you is gone. Mm-hmm. And so most of that episode is running from Mama Mega Bunny.
What happens to Mama? I guess you shouldn't spoil
it's fine.
it.
It's fine.
But Mama Mega Bunny's okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm more worried about Mama Mega Bunny because somebody comes up and cuddles my kid without me telling them they can.
Yeah.
I'm
actually,
a mega bunny.
They sort of act, not intentionally, but that fact ends up saving them later on in that episode because like they kind of get away. Like it's the kind of thing where like, you know, in movies when you're running from like bloodhounds and then you can get in the river and then they just magically lose your scent. They can't remember.
Or sprinkle pepper everywhere.
They can't even remember what you smell like. It was like that, except it turns out Mama Mega Bunny could remember what you smell like, and later on comes back when they've been sort of trapped by some bad guys. The bad guys, by the way, are a mob-like group of giant mutant, like they're person-sized again. They're frogs, and they like dress like mobsters and they speak English. And they like have an interest in hunting down and finding humans, and they're especially interested in her as what they call a burrow girl, someone who's from the underground.
Okay.
What are your thoughts?
I'm trying to imagine. I don't know. I have this image in my head of what all of that looks like. I don't know. What is this rated for?
It's TVY 7.
See? It seems more little kitty than that to me, but maybe because I'm making it a little more juvenile in my head. Is it a lot more like action adventure?
Yeah.
Dire?
There's lots of chases. Mm-hmm. There's lots of sort of dangerous scrapes that they get in that they narrowly escape. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. That kind of thing. Let me tell you who all the characters are. So there's Kipo. She's from underground. There's Wolf. And she walks around with this staff that has a giant scorpion sting on the end of it.
Well, her name should be Scorpion.
She also has a wolf like
skin never mind.
On her. That's where Wolf comes from. And we get the impression, I don't remember even if they said what her real name was, but Kipo's trying to make friends with her, and she's like, I'm just going to call you Wolf because of the wolf skin. Mandu, I mentioned. Mandu is part of the gang. There's another surface dweller named Benson, who's a little bit nicer. He's more of a, like, I'm just going to take what I need kind of person.
Are these all children?
Yeah. Teenagers.
Are there any adults?
I get the impression there will be.
But so far, you have not seen any adults.
I saw Kipo's dad in the flashback of how she ended up getting flushed.
How do you get flushed from underground?
I'm glad you asked. Here's how it happened. So they're not like deep underground like in the Matrix where they're like trying to get close to the center of the earth. Mm-hmm. I get the impression that they're in like basement and sewer level and just below sewer level.
Like in the where the mole people live.
Yes, exactly. If people are out in the world, if you know where the mole people live, they live there.
Okay.
And so what happens is they're sort of Kipo and her dad are like spelunking, but they're in kind of a sewer system, and they're in one of these big rooms that you always see in movies that I don't know if they actually exist, where it's like there's a river of the sewer sort of running through it, but it's a big open room where like maybe presumably
mole people?
Workers or mole people would be, or giant crocodiles. But they're sort of spelunking in there, and there's like a little bit of a cave in, and to save her, Kipo's dad reaches up and like unlatches her from the rope that they're climbing with, and like pulls her and dunks her down in the river, and then but it's not like sewage because people aren't using it, so it's just water. It's like it's basically a river. So he pulls her down there, and then he jumps to go after her, but in the space between them, the cave-in cuts him off. So he's still underground, and then the rocks push all the water out, and that's how she gets flushed. Gotcha.
So she doesn't know how the status of her father.
Right. Yeah. When she first comes out, she's yelling like, Dad, and trying to get back in, but she can't get back in the sewers. I want to mention who is so far my favorite character.
Okay.
That's Dave. Dave.
So we've got Kipo, Wolf,
Benson,
Dave.
Mandu, and Dave. Dave is this mutant like insect person, and when they first find
Is he
Dave,
the nerd?
no.
Oh, okay.
No. When they first find him, Kipo finds him and thinks it's a baby. So we hear him crying. And she picks him up and is like trying to save him. And then when she looks, he's like he's a baby-sized, big old like grub.
Ew.
And so, but it looks like a mutant so like it's like, it seems like it has person qualities. And so they're in the process of saving him. It turns out that Benson and Dave are friends and they go together. And they're talking, so Benson starts talking about Dave and he's like, oh yeah, me and Dave go way back. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's a baby. And it turns out what it is, it's this insect that rapidly ages. So like in one day we see Dave like and turn into a young adolescent man, like boy bug that's person sized, and then into an adult.
And every time he sheds his skin, day?
And then the last iteration, it looks like, is like this super powered armored beetle man that's still like only person sized. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't get like gigantic. I mean, he does for a bug, but not for a person scale. He gets about person sized, and he's like this armored beetle guy, and then he like that dissolves and he turns into a grub again. So like this is his life cycle. He's just constantly cycling through these ages.
But it's every day that he does that?
Yeah, that's the way it seems.
Oh.
And he's my favorite. Because he's the wisecracking.
Gotcha. He's the
character.
comic relief.
Yeah. And also occasionally the muscle when he's in Big Bad Beetleborgs mode. Mm-hmm. And so that's all I know so far about Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts. I know that she's trapped on the surface. These people are trying to help her get back home. I know that the frog mob wants to get rid of them, or trap them, or do something with them. And I have the impression that a gigantic, they call them mutant animals and mutated things on the surface, mutes. So there's a giant mute that we see in that same flashback scene with the dad, the thing that causes the cave-in. We see like a giant stinger come into that sort of room that they were in, and then a gigantic eye look in.
So are they called mutes, or are they called Wonder Beasts?
They call them mutes, but they are the impression is that they're the Wonder Beasts. It's that these sort of mutant, amazing new versions of animals have sort of taken over the world.
Mm. And you don't know where they've come from?
I don't know what has caused this to happen yet.
Okay.
But it's pretty interesting. Some things about this that I wanted to share really quickly. Apparently, again, I'm just getting into it, but this show has been so far very critically acclaimed, particularly because it does a good job with representations of minorities, which is pretty par for. I'm not downplaying that. Mm-hmm. It's very par for the course though, with like modern, especially stuff that's getting on Netflix and things like that. Mm-hmm. For children, they generally have an eye towards representation. Mm-hmm. And so I haven't seen much of that yet. The characters I've seen, the human characters are very diverse. But I've only seen like 4 of them. So, there's that. And what was I going to say? Oh, the showrunner, whose name is, I had it here a second ago. Secrist. What's his first name? I'm gonna find it so fast. Radford Secrist is the creator and showrunner of the show. He compares the show to Wizard of Oz. So it's the idea that this young girl gets sort of picked up and whisked away from her home, and then is helped out by creatures that she can't imagine that don't exist in her world.
Is this regular animation style, or is it like a anime type style, or?
No, it's sort of this. It's hard to explain. It's kind of, you know how I had a hard time with She-Ra. I was trying to nail down what I think that style is. So this animation is very angular. It looks like it's kind of sketched almost.
Okay.
In my mind, it's like a very, it's not anime. Anime is a certain thing. Anime is specifically originally had its origins in its animation from Japan, which is Japan animation anime is where that word comes from. So it feels like almost American anime though. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It doesn't have the same feel as that. It's like it's like a uniquely American, I guess. Although I'm going to say that and then someone's going to say, "Oh, but this show came from Canada or something." No, I guess it comes from DreamWorks. Let's see. It's a series produced by DreamWorks Animation. Oh, and animated by South Korean studio Mir. So it's actually from South Korea. I just learned that.
All right. So it's not American.
Okay, it's not American. Scratch that. It is pretty unique though. It's hard to nail this down too, but they're like, I feel like knowing it's from DreamWorks, I'm like, yeah, I see that.
Okay, cool.
So, Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts. I don't know if I'm going to watch all 30 episodes that exist of this yet, but I do think it's interesting. I'll probably watch a few more.
Cool.
That's my story. And now, do we have like a... Well, now Cora's in the room.
What's up, dude? No.
Okay, so we're recording the day after Halloween, and Cora cannot stop asking for candy.
Can you... You're going to wait till after dinner, please. You think giving me that sweet
She's got
smile.
her favorite thing. It's a lollipop. It's watermelon flavored.
Please.
All right. Well, that's been handled. Natalie, you, I believe, have an activity for us.
Well, it's not really an activity. It's something I just thought was interesting.
Okay.
On Rotten Tomatoes, they have top 100. So
Sure.
they have top 100 of any type of category you want. I looked under the kids and family movies.
Okay.
And I was just wondering
Oh, no.
what you thought
It's number one.
is number one. Or number two, or what you think might be for sure in the top 5.
Well, okay. So I have a couple of thoughts. One is I'm sure that somewhere in the top 5 to 10 are at least a couple of Pixar movies.
Mm-hmm. I do want to say they did their rankings based on what they call adjusted score. I think that means like the number of people that voted to the tomato meter.
Okay, so is this based on, can you tell, is it based on the tomato score or is it based on the audience score?
It is not based on the tomato score. It is based on adjusted score.
So it must be like a combination of the audience and the tomato meter.
Yes,
okay.
That's what I'm saying to you.
Okay,
yes.
I gotcha. Okay, so yeah, I'm sure that there's Pixar movies in there. I'm betting that there's also several maybe like independent studio type movies. Does that sound true?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want me to tell you how many do you want?
Let's talk about the top 5.
Okay, top 5. Ranked on Best of by Rotten Tomatoes in the kids and family genre.
Can I throw something out real quick first before you do it? Is there a Toy Story?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There is a Toy Story. Which one?
I'm going to guess 3.
4.
4?
Toy Story 4 is number 1.
Oh man, I was even part of me was gonna say that. Honestly.
Toy Story 2 and 3 are number 11 and 12 respectively.
Oh wow.
And the first Toy Story is number 20.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Toy Story 4 is number 1, huh?
Toy Story 4 is number 1.
Like that flick is good, but I don't feel like it's the best one. I don't know. It's good.
It's good. Number 2 is from 1939.
Oh, yeah.
The Wizard of Oz.
Okay. Man,
I don't think
can you believe that?
I know.
Okay.
Number 3 is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Good call, people. Number
4 is Inside Out.
Okay.
And number 5 is Coco.
Man, Pixar are racking them up.
Yeah. Our next ones really quickly, because I think there are a couple of interesting ones. 6 is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Right, because it's incorrect.
It is number 7 is E.T.
Okay.
Number 8 is Paddington 2.
No, what?
It has
What?
a 100% on the tomato meter.
Paddington or Paddington 2, the sequel.
Paddington 2.
Paddington 2, this time it's personal. That
Yes.
one.
Number 9 is Incredibles 2.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And number 10 is Up. And then I told you 11 and 12 were Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3.
Okay, so obviously, I wasn't even thinking far enough back to think of The Wizard of Oz.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously that belongs on there. I'm shocked, actually, ultimately, that's not like the top one, almost.
The
I guess
Wizard
it
of
is
Oz?
almost the
I
top
mean,
one
it's
because it's
number
number
2.
2. But the fact that Toy Story 4 is ranked above The Wizard of Oz is kind of crazy. I cannot believe... I mean, I haven't seen either of the Paddington movies. I've heard that they're good.
Apparently.
But apparently Paddington 2, one of the best of all time.
Paddington, the first one is rated number 28.
And then Incredibles 2.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that of all of them is the coup de grace. I can't believe, listen, if you've listened to this show, you know that I like me some Incredibles. I've talked about Incredibles before, and I like Incredibles 2, but I don't think it's better than Incredibles 1. What?
Number 100, just for anybody that's curious,
Okay.
is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince.
Sure.
So there it is.
Man.
I just thought that was interesting. Out of those, the 100 ratings on the tomato meter,
Uh-huh.
we've got Paddington 2, we've got Toy Story 2, we've got Pinocchio, we've got regular first Toy Story, Mary Poppins. Those are all rated on a 100 on the tomato meter.
All right. That's extreme. I'm glad we did this, but
Wow.
it is shocking. There's some shocking things about the list. I think we can all agree.
Yeah.
I guess we gotta watch Paddington, right?
I mean, I guess. I just, it's not one that really I've thought about before.
Yeah, but it's in the top 10 best kids and family movies of all time
On Rotten Tomatoes.
on Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm just saying, I want to specify that. There you
All
go.
right. Well, there we go. What you say? That you only meant well. Well, of course you did. Let's take a little break. Let's stop over in Promoville.
All right.
I am Leighton,
And I am Christy,
and this is Cheers to Parenting.
a couple's guide to parenthood. On this bi-monthly podcast, we'll pull a topic from our parenting tip jar and then discuss,
Using parenting skills we've learned over the years of parenting our 3 children.
which combined gives us 60 plus years experience with the good, bad, and ugly of parenthood.
Perfect kids?
Nope.
Expert parenting?
Absolutely not. But it's worked for us. Give us a listen at anchor.fm/cheers to parenting pod. Advice from birth
Until you get them off your payroll.
And we're back.
We're back. Hey.
What did you do on your trip to Promoville? I went to Promoville and all I got is this dumb t-shirt.
I got a mug.
We should do Promoville shirts. We should do Welcome to Promoville shirts.
I'm sure there's something out there that already says that. I don't think Promoville is our thing.
I think we invented Promoville.
Okay.
I'm going to find out. And if there's if there's nothing that says already Welcome to Promoville or something like that, I'm going to make it. And then if there is, I'm going to just buy it.
Okie dokie. That sounds like a plan.
That sounds like something I would do.
It does.
All right.
It really does.
You're up. What do you have for us this week?
So I was conflicted on if I should do we were trying to decide if we wanted to do Halloween again this week.
Yeah, because this episode is going to come out on November the 2nd.
Right.
And we're recording it one day before that, because that's how we do.
That's how we do.
But it is Halloween weekend. We've all still got candy.
Yeah, we have a ton of candy in the house. Well,
you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, a couple of our friends we saw today, and they were like, nobody came to our house. Does anybody want this box of candy? And Rich was like, yeah, we'll take it. And
Obviously.
I was like, excuse me?
Everyone who didn't immediately say, yes, I want that, was a liar.
Don't call the rest of our friends liars.
I'm just saying they were they were cowards then. Because
I'm sorry, guys.
We bought a bunch of listen, we love our friends, but I think if they're listening, they know that in their hearts that when, hey, who wants this free box of candy? And everyone didn't go, that sounds like pretty great. And then I was the one that spoke up, and everyone was like, wow, now they're stuck with it. All that free candy. Like, come on.
Okay, so thanks to Rich and his, quote, bravery, apparently.
I was so brave.
We have a whole freaking box of just candy. So, anyway. So, it's going to be Halloween in our house for months. I decided to look into Nightmare Before Christmas because I hadn't seen it in a while, and I was curious, and it has Christmas in the title, and I was like, we're getting into the holiday season. Let's see if this is Halloween-y, or let's see if this is Christmassy.
Yeah, because like we all know that what happens now these days is you have Halloween, and that happens, and then immediately following Halloween, right away, immediately, it's time to start thinking about Christmas.
Nobody remembers Thanksgiving and all the delicious mashed potatoes that happen at Thanksgiving.
I feel like we kind of treat Thanksgiving as like pre-Christmas. It's like, we're going to do this again in a month, but it's too far between.
Anybody else out there show up for Thanksgiving for the side dishes?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, who cares about the turkey, man?
We could do a whole separate episode about how I don't understand why we chose turkey as the thing that we're all going to agree to eat when it's not when they're alive, they're dry. Like you can't even put moisture inside them.
Is there such a thing as a moist turkey?
It's rare. I've had it.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
But it's so rare. It's so
rare.
hard to get a.
Okay. Just because we're on the topic, your favorite growing up Thanksgiving staple?
Like a side?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of like a hash brown casserole.
Mm-hmm.
I also liked like the really salty green beans with like a ham hock in them.
Mm.
Yeah.
I like me some mashed potatoes and gravy.
Yep, naturally.
And my Momo's chicken and dressing.
Yeah.
And she does her dressing with like little bits of chicken in it.
Yeah.
So
it's special.
It's so good. Okay. All right. Let's get away from Thanksgiving. It's not Thanksgiving. We're still talking about Halloween.
And Christmas.
And Christmas. Nightmare Before Christmas. So, most of you all know what the gist is for Nightmare Before Christmas, but I'll just do a quick rundown. We're in Halloween Town, and they've... What?
Halloween Town, the movie that I talked about last week.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
I know. Their
town is called Halloween Town.
I'm thinking about a crossover event. Go ahead.
In Halloween Town, Halloween is their thing. They are all ghosts or ghouls or corpses or skeletons or, they all live there. It's a big deal. Halloween is. Their leader of the town, the Pumpkin King, is Jack Skellington. And I just always thought Skellington was a funny way to say skeleton.
Sure.
Some people just say, never mind.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny. It just, in my brain, it makes me think that somebody's like, okay, our main character is going to be Jack Skeleton. And And somebody's like, yes, Jack Skellington, and wrote it down. And they were like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
better.
like that. I
That's
actually
better.
like that. Okay. He's kind of fed up with Halloween. It's kind of the same thing every year. Over it. He's looking for something new and exciting.
How can we inject some fun into this holiday?
He goes for a walk in the woods and comes across like a circle of trees that have doors in each tree. So they're portals to different holiday worlds. And we see one tree with like an Easter egg on it and one tree with like a shamrock on it and all that. And then he's like, whoa, at the tree with a tree on it, a Christmas tree on it. So he opens the door, gets sucked through the portal, and he is like, what's this? That's his song. What's this? What's this? Do, 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 do. You know?
Yeah.
And he learns about Christmas and he doesn't understand it. He's like, what is this? There's no monsters under the bed. There are no like dead things walking around.
Everyone's happy.
Everyone's happy. Nobody's screaming in terror. So he goes back to Halloween Town, bringing back some Christmas type things, and he starts telling everybody about Christmas, and they're confused, but they're into it. I mean, this is Jack. They follow him where he leads.
Yeah, Jack's the guy.
Jack's the guy. So he decides he wants to do Christmas. So he sends 3 like little snot-nosed little brats. They're terrible. That live in like this little, I couldn't remember if it was a house or a clubhouse or what, but that has the Oogie Boogie guy, you know,
yeah,
in like the basement of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they would just like feed it, and I mean, they're creeps. Those 3 kids are creeps. So he sends them to kidnap Santa. They get Santa, they bring him back, and Jack's like, Santa, great to have you here. You just sit back and relax. I'm taking over Christmas. And Santa's like, no, thank you. And Jack's like, no. I'm taking over Christmas. I know how to do it. We can do it. Because he thinks he knows what Christmas is all about. I'm running out of breath. Those 3 kids take Santa to basically like a torture chamber where Oogie Boogie is.
That's all they know. Right?
It's creepy. Throughout all of this, we of course have Sally. And she's the Frankenstein equivalent of like a rag doll. She's sewn together and put together by like a mad scientist guy that's like really weird, and she's always trying to like escape from him and stuff. And she is trying to tell Jack, like, no, your thing is Halloween. We don't need to be doing Christmas. Christmas is our thing. Stay in your lane. He doesn't listen. He goes out and he starts delivering presents, quote, to the kids, and they start, like, all of the presents are very gruesome, like heads, and some of them are like kind of like demonic, like the dolls come alive and like start freaking the kids out. And they basically just you know, the way the earth and everything is, they shoot Santa Jack out of the sky.
Oh, good.
The government does.
Yeah. Okay, wait.
Yes. So the police, like, they start calling the police, and the police is like, yeah, we're on it. And they start doing searchlights and everything like that, and they shoot him out of the sky.
So, okay, it might have been longer for me than for you since I've seen this movie, because I'm remembering things as we go. But this isn't one that I regularly watch for the Halloween times or the Christmas times. And so that's wild. That's crazy because okay, well, I guess it has to be a world where you have to suspend your disbelief in the reality of these things. Like, you have to assume that everyone agrees that, like, okay, parents, cover your kids' ears, because I'm going to talk about the claws. The claws. And we're assuming that that everyone believes that Santa Claus is real. and the fact that then when they're like, wait a second, Santa's not doing his job right.
Well, they call him, he's a Santa imposter.
So someone sees him. Someone can tell it's not Santa.
Yes, the kids see him and they're complaining, and then people start going, that's not the real Santa in the real world. They're in the real world. Mm-hmm. They go like, okay, Santa's an imposter. And then like people on the news, like the news anchor is like, or they shot down Jack Skellington, and the guy's like, well, people of the earth or people of wherever, he says, we don't know what's happening with Santa. And then he went, I guess Christmas is canceled.
That's the only answer.
The guy on the Real World TV.
Why didn't they do? I wonder why they didn't do like a. Oh no, that's not. We all know. We're all best friends with Santa. We've all seen Santa. We all know him, and he's our friend. And that's not him. We can all tell. We all know that that's not him. And why didn't they like if they're gonna shoot down this imposter mythical man? Why aren't they like, we better find him? Let's find him.
Find Santa?
Yeah.
They'd have to go through the magic portals. I don't know.
That's what they should have done.
So, when Jack kind of does his crash and burn, he realizes this Christmas thing isn't for me. I'm the Halloween guy. I need to be doing Halloween.
And
I better go let Santa go. But then he finds that Santa and now Sally are both trapped by Oogie Boogie.
You know, it's too bad for Jack, and what must be very confusing. And maybe it's part of his sort of motivation is that Halloween doesn't have a spokesman. They had to invent a Jack Skellington. They had
to invent the Pumpkin King
for this. We in here on the Earth, we don't go Halloween. That's when the Pumpkin King comes to town,
right?
And causes all sorts of mischief.
Some people think it's the devil.
Well, sure, but my point is like we have a Santa Claus, right? We have an Easter Bunny, to represent. I guess for St. Patrick's Day we don't have like one thing, but we have leprechauns,
right?
Like we have a thing that we like. That is the image of that.
I mean, we have St. Patrick.
Sure, yes. We also have St. Nicholas. And we have St.
But
Valentine.
You're right. There's not like a official standalone mascot for Halloween other than like a jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah.
Like, but that's not something that comes and visits you, you know. Maybe but that's too creepy for Halloween because Halloween's kind of a creepy holiday.
I guess what I'm saying is like if you think about it from Jack's perspective, he's like, I'm the leader of Halloween. And then he goes over to Christmas Town and here's jolly old St. Nicholas. And he's like, oh, what are you doing? He's like, yeah, I go and I interact with the people. They all know me down there. You know? And he's like, wait, what? That's a thing? We get to like interact with the people?
Yeah.
Because do they even know about the rest of this? I don't remember. Does Halloween Town know about the rest of the world?
Well, they must because he flies the...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know. So he ends up flying the sleigh to Real World.
I mean, they do like annual like Halloween stuff, but I don't know what their annual Halloween stuff is and if that leaks over into the real world. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I need a Nightmare Before Christmas verse so I can know what the people of Halloween Town knew about the real world. Go ahead. I've interrupted.
Well, Jack gets Santa and Sally out of Oogie Boogie's weird torture lair, and Santa fixes it.
Because that's how we do.
Yeah, and Sally and Jack are smoochy.
Aww.
So all of you that this is like your yearly thing to see will know so much more about that. If you don't, I'm not going to go into it super a lot because it is kind of a cult classic that almost everybody kind of knows something about. So, But there were a few things that I learned. So the Nightmare Before Christmas was originally a poem written by Tim Burton. So this whole thing is called Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. He wrote that in 1982 when he was working for Disney.
Okay.
Throughout the years, he kind of thought about it and thought about making a short film about it or something like that. But in 1990, he made a deal with Disney, and they started production in 1991. So it was almost 10 years. It was 9 years from his first writing of the poem to actual production. Disney actually released the film through Touchstone, which is their more adult version of their company, because they thought the film would be too dark and scary for kids. They didn't necessarily want it under the Disney heading.
Yeah, it's not happy clappy.
No, Cora sat and watched it a little bit with me.
Okay.
And I told her, I said, if any of this is too creepy or scary, you tell me. And she just got bored with it. She kind of, but she's 4. She doesn't sit still for long. But she watched it a little bit. She's like, this isn't really creepy. She said, it's kind of silly. And she went, but I'm watching, the three kids, taking things to their Oogie Boogie torture chamber. And I'm like, this is creepy. So Tim Burton couldn't direct the film because at the time he was making Batman Returns.
I was thinking, we had talked before about how he was very busy around the Batman stuff.
Yes. And he also could not and did not want to be in the slow process of stop motion animation.
Sure.
So that being said, the stop motion thing, I always think it's amazing. Anybody that has the patience for stop motion just amazes me.
Yeah.
But so for a couple of things, the filmmakers constructed 227 puppets to represent the characters in the movie. Jack Skellington had around 400 heads, allowing for every expression that he could possibly need. They had a crew of over 120 workers utilizing 20 sound stages, and there were 109,440 frames taken for the film. So a guy named Selleck is actually Tim Burton kind of gave him the role of director. He was like, we both kind of have similar styles, and I know you can take this and run with it. But it's called Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, mainly because just he came up with the idea.
Yeah,
the poem.
It's his original work.
Yes, but he really didn't work on it, at all, as far as production goes. Actually, Selleck said, quote, "It's as though he," meaning Burton, "laid the egg and I sat on it and hatched it. He wasn't involved in a hands-on way, but his hand is in it. It was my job to make it look like a Tim Burton film, which is not so different from my own films. I don't want to take away from Tim, but he was not in San Francisco when we made it. He came up 5 times over 2 years and spent no more than 8 or 10 days in total."
Well, it's kind of, though, I guess what we're dealing with there is kind of a thing where we don't think of this way, but you think about Charles Dickens's A Christmas Carol.
Sure.
You think about,
it's derived from his work.
But we don't deal with that, I guess, a lot, because usually when a movie is based on someone's work like that, they're not around.
Right. It's like a historical,
it's a classic thing.
Yeah, a classic kind of thing. So, I just always assumed when it said Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, I was like, oh, this is a Tim Burton movie. And it is, but he did not make it. He conceptualized it.
Right.
It came from his brain, but all the things that are in it, he did not, like, completely oversee everything.
I assume he must have had a production credit or something. He must have been in the credits.
I mean, he's a writer.
Okay.
He was the writer of it, the story and characters. He was a creator, I guess.
Okay.
So
I'll back Selleck up and just say that is a tricksy bit of marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Nightmare Before Christmas came out in 1993. It is rated PG. It's kind of creepy. I mean,
sure.
Parents, be aware of the, creep level of your child before.
You gotta really know how much of a creep your kid is.
Yeah. Exactly. So Danny Elfman.
Sure. Next, we all know, right?
Danny Elfman, he basically wrote every single one of the songs.
Awesome.
And he is also the singing voice of Jack Skellington.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The talking voice is Chris Sarandon, who everybody else will know as Prince Humperdinck. Humperdinck. From Princess Bride.
Is he related to Susan? Sarandon?
I don't know.
Okay. It's not important.
I hadn't thought of that.
Humperdinck.
Sally is voiced by Catherine O'Hara or Moira Rose. Moira. I love her. I love her as Moira.
Yeah.
Yeah, who doesn't? So I thought that was interesting. In February of 2019, it was reported that a new Nightmare Before Christmas film was in the works. Disney considering either a stop-motion sequel or a live-action remake.
Oh.
Which would be creepy and interesting.
Yeah.
Disney's been doing a lot of live-action remakes of things, so I would not be surprised if they went that way.
Yeah.
It was nominated for both the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects and the Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation. It won the Saturn Award for Best Fantasy Film, and Elfman won for Best Music. Selleck and the animators were nominated for their work. Elfman was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Original Score. And most recently, the film ranked number 1 on Rotten Tomatoes' Top 25 Best Christmas Movies list.
Oh.
This brings me to the question.
We've been dancing around this question, I feel like, for most of the spooky season.
Is Nightmare Before Christmas a Halloween or a Christmas movie? What would you say from what you can remember about the movie? What would be your personal opinion?
The movie is mostly about Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
It's set at Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, that makes it primarily a Christmas movie.
Okay.
I think it obviously has its toe in both camps.
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand how it would be on TV during both seasons. But if I had to say which kind of movie is this, I would say it's really a Christmas movie.
So you say Christmas movie.
I think I would vote Christmas movie.
Okay. As I was watching it, I kept in mind, I kind of kept this question in mind as I was watching it. And I personally thought, as I was watching it, that is more of a Halloween movie.
Okay.
Because I felt like the characters were remembering what they loved about Halloween. You know, a lot of Christmas movies are the joys of Christmas.
Yeah.
And this movie, I feel like they're like, what we love about Halloween and going back to our Halloween roots. That was my take. All that to say, I did look up what I went searching for if anybody has said what they like an official said what they thought it was. If you ask the director, Mr. Selleck, and most of the makers of the movie, including Mr. Elfman, they say it is a Halloween movie.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I bet Tim Burton thinks it's a Christmas movie.
Well, then he could say it.
Oh, I thought you were going to have information.
No.
You're like, well, I'm glad you brought it up. Because
No, I really only got to a couple of quotes from Elfman and Selleck, and some, they were asked point blank, is this a Christmas or a Halloween movie? And Selleck said, this is a Halloween movie.
The reason I say I bet Tim Burton thinks it's a Christmas movie is because it's obviously, if it's a poem that he wrote, it's obviously based on 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. You know, like the name is a riff on that famous Christmas poem. And so, I don't know. Yeah, that's just my thought. All right, so Nightmare Before Christmas.
There it is.
We did it again.
Yep.
We did.
Yes.
No pomp or circumstance. We're here.
No.
Right here at the end of the show. So thanks again for listening to Not Suitable for Adults. It's time to start thinking. Time to start thinking about the holiday movies. Those will be coming up soon.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Like we won't be able to avoid them. They're going to be impossible.
We're coming up on 1 year, right?
Yes.
Yawning.
So I asked our friends on Twitter, they're all our close personal friends, and because we are coming up so our first episode came out on November the 30th in 2019, and so our anniversary episode is coming up pretty soon, and I asked what would be a fun way to commemorate 1 year, and so far I had a couple people weigh in. My favorite idea so far is to do a retrospective on our first episode and maybe talk about the stuff we talked about in our first episode again.
I like that.
If you have another idea for what we could do, or if you love that idea, we would love to get that feedback, because we've been doing it for a year now and we've had a lot of fun with it, and we want you to keep having fun with it. So if you have a fun idea, you can tweet at us at NotForAdultsCast. Or email notforadultscast@gmail.com. Thanks again to the folks over at Pod Clubhouse for featuring us this week. We will let you know when that episode comes out. And that's really pretty much it.
Should we mention that we were the podcast of the week
or
whatever on
Bullhorn. Bullhorn FM is a new podcast app, I think. So many of these things are coming out now. Podcasts are so hot that there's new
We're so hot right now.
There's new services coming out all the time, but go check out bullhorn.fm. It's a new place to get your podcasts, and we were featured as their podcast of the week. I think not this past week, but the week before. But yeah, great people over there. They reached out and like, hey, we'd love to feature you, but we don't have you on our service yet. So we got on there. We're featured. We're one of their featured podcasts now.
Yay!
So listen, we're coming up on the end of the year. Man, it's been a long year.
Y'all. Y'all. It has been a year.
We've all been in it together though, right? No. Okay, if one thing unites us is that we're all looking for ways to entertain ourselves, and hopefully we've entertained you and you've gone along with us on the streaming service. Streaming services now more than ever have been helping out the people of the world. So just don't forget, as you continue to do what you can to stay sane, that you are in fact the boss.
So watch whatever you want.
Okay, bye.
Bye.